Kirby's soul needs a break from absorbing all these villains, so it's time to officially start his hero arc, and what better way to kickstart his hero season than to have him absorb one of the most kind and loving characters in anime, Sailor Moon. Also, my best friend got married last weekend, and Sailor Moon was one of her favorite anime characters. She's always doing that silly pose, so this one is dedicated to her. The entire time I was working on this mashup, the Sailor Moon theme song was playing on repeat in my head, so I hope it gets stuck in your head too. I was so excited to finally add her pigtails and buns because it's so iconic to her look, and I feel like this was the moment it was all coming together. Luckily, I found some rhinestones in my box of miscellaneous craft supplies, and it ended up being perfect for her moonstick. At this point, I was loving how she turned out, until I realized I forgot her tiara. Kirby is currently in his hero arc, and today he's absorbing a newer hero in the anime world, Okarun from Dandadan, specifically in his yokai form. I couldn't believe the amount of requests I received for this mashup. I've been wanting to create this since I first saw Okarun's transformation. I just thought Kirby would look hilarious if he were to absorb him. Last week's episode was a tearjerker, so hopefully this mashup helps lighten the mood. Since Okarun's barefoot when transformed, this means that this will be the first Kirby I've made without any shoes or family jewels. After adding the red highlights to his hair and dry brushing some red to the tips of his clothes, I added his glasses, which I made with UV resin and aluminum wire, and this is how he turned out. Let me know which hero you'd like to see Kirby absorb next. Kirby is currently in his hero arc, and if you haven't guessed already by the music playing in the background, today Kirby's absorbing a hero full of life and emotion, Saitama from One Punch Man. After adding his gloves, I noticed a resemblance to another anime character. Kirby was looking more like Fat Gum from My Hero. Were you guys thinking the same thing, or is it just me? The colors were also giving Ronald McDonald vibes, and I was not loving it. But luckily that changed after I added the cape. Kirby finally looks more like a hero and less like a clown. I had such a hard time deciding whether to paint his face derpy or serious, so I let Vados decide.
This is the way.
I also made sure to make his bald head extra shiny. Finally, some UV resin for more glossiness. I love how shiny and derpy he looks. Who should I make next? It's finally time for Kirby to absorb Goku. Over 100 of you asked for this mashup. The hard part was trying to decide which form or attack to make him in. I decided to go with creating the Spirit Bomb. My idea is to put him on top of my Kirby shelf, so it would look like the Kirby army is giving him energy for the attack. I appreciate all the comments and ideas. Sorry if your idea wasn't chosen, but I hope you still enjoy this build. I'll probably do a couple more hero Kirbies before starting a new series. Should I start him on season 2 of his villain arc? Or maybe a Star Wars or Marvel series? Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see. I'll put the most requested suggestions on the community poll and leave it to you guys to vote, because honestly it's so hard to decide. I'll be making his Spirit Bomb next week, so stay tuned for that. I present Sun Go Kirby. Time to make Sun Go Kirby's Spirit Bomb. The plan is to cover some fairy lights with cotton and put that inside a blue resin ball. I also wanted to add an aura around him and create a stand out of acrylic for the light source. I put the sketch of the aura in a parchment envelope. I'm using UV resin I tinted white for his aura. After painting and curing a couple layers, I was able to peel it from the parchment. I'm using this ornament as a mold for the Spirit Bomb. Would this qualify as a holiday craft since I'm using ornaments and lights? Finally time to put everything together. I'm using a strong foam tape to attach everything in case I wanted to change the display later on, but I am happy with how this turned out.
Kirbies, lend me your energy.
Some of you guys told me I can't have a Ghetto Kirby without making a Gojo Kirby for him to torture. So today we're finally making Gojo Kirby. For the hair, I make these cone-like shapes in varying sizes, attaching and blending one at a time and doing some minor shaping as I go. I use the larger cones in the center and the smaller ones around the edges. Usually the hair is the most difficult part of the build for me, but it does get easier the more Kirbies I make. I wanted to show more of my process in case you guys wanted to try making one for yourselves. I'm lifting up his blindfold because I'm specifically making this pose. If you'd like a more detailed tutorial on how I make my Kirbies, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know if we should seal Gojo Kirby in the Prism realm. But in the meantime, I'll be sealing him with some UV resin. Obviously, I had to put him with all of his Jujutsu Kaisen buddies. Time to make a prison realm to seal Gojo Kirby. I'm using a high precision scale to make sure all the eyeballs are the same size, until I had a total of 15. Next, I'm using this mold to shape all the balls of clay into half circles. I partially bake them for 5 minutes, so they don't deform when I shape the eyelids later. While that's baking, I rolled out some thin sheets of clay, cut it into squares, and cut out a circle in the center to make room for the eyeball. I added some eyelids to the top and bottom, blended them in, and used a brush to add some more stone-like texture. I repeated this for all the walls and baked them fully. Finally, it's time to assemble. I just used super glue to attach all the pieces. I think I was looking forward to painting the pretty blue eyes the most. I decided to leave it matte so that it would look more like stone and only add resin to the eyes. I'm so glad I did because it looks more realistic. Sorry to all the Gojo fans out there, but I love how it turned out and have no regrets.